Hey everyone, Jordan here. Today we're looking at our last motherboard for the stack that I've got at the moment. This is going to be the MSI Mag B850 Tomahawk Max Wi-Fi. Very popular board in the budget series. The Tomahawk's generally got quite a lot of features. The X870, we saw a lot packed into it, and it was actually cheaper than a lot of other brands as well. So they certainly want to get on your radar if you are looking to build a budget system. So this one, main thing with B850, you're going to have a PCIe support for Gen 5 graphics. And then also there's no mandatory USB 4 controller, which can save you some money over going X870. So let's not waste any time, we'll get straight into this one. We're going to have our Wi-Fi, I'm going to guess, in this little box here. This board's got Wi-Fi 7, you also got Bluetooth 5.4. So we've got our motherboard. I'm going to move that out of the way just to look at what else we've got included in the box. So we've got some documentation on the right hand side, also some stickers to help label your cables. There's also some MSI ones on the back there, like the lucky ones. We've also got a M.2 standoff if you want to add an additional one. Also got a little quick release thing on there as well. We've got a little remover for those M.2s. You can screw those in easily with that little key, save using like pliers. There's also another M.2 standoff there. We've got one SATA cable, one end is right angled. There's also the little adapter for the front panel so you can extend it out. Also makes it a little bit more tidy if your case has got a kind of ketchup and mustard colour cables. Then finally we've got that adapter cable that then has their single proprietary connector that then goes into the front panel connections, also a 3-pin 5-volt addressable and then 4-pin PWM header. So onto the board, a very familiar layout to all the ones we've seen previously. All the B860 and X870 have got this kind of colour theme, so it's a very limey colour. Going to be a bit of a Marmite thing. You're going to love it or you're going to hate it. Looking at the VRM of the board, we've got a 14 duet rail power system on this board. Pretty chunky around the VRM though. I'm sure we'll be able to handle some higher end CPUs and things. Hopefully get this to focus in. Let's go around the board though. On the top left hand side we have got our two 8-pin EPS connectors, so upgrading for an 8+4 what we generally saw on the B650. Those are also solid pins. Going over, we've got 3 4-pin headers. We've got CPU fan 1, pump system fan, and also system fan 1. There's also another 4-pin on the right hand side as well, that's system fan 2. Just below that we've got our first 3-pin addressable 5-volt RGB, also our debug LEDs down below as well. We've got our 24-pin for motherboard power. We've also got our easy connector as well. Now that breakout cable is very handy if you've got a case where a lot of the bottom of the motherboard is quite visible, or maybe you're using a vertical rise that sits a bit higher up, because you could see a lot of cables going into that, whereas you've got 3 cables on that one cable. Can just help tidy things up a little bit. The USB-C for this board is coming out at right angles. This is the first board from our B850 that I've seen to do this. We've then got 4 SATA 6 gigabit ports, and also 2 right angle USB type A ports. Both of those are 5 gigabits per second. This is the first B850 board that I've seen with 2 internal type A's, but it does sacrifice 2 type A from the back of the board for the rear I/O, so a little bit of a compromise there, just something to bear in mind. On the bottom right hand side of the board we've got our front panel connections. We've got another system fan, another 3-pin 5-volt addressable, there's another 2 4-pin headers for fans. We'll then have 2 USB 2 headers as well as a PCIe 8-pin. If you need any supplemental power for your PCI slots, maybe you're really overclocking the board, you can plug in an 8-pin there. We've then got another 4-pin header, that's system fan 6. That brings it to a total of 8 4-pin headers on this board. If you use the breakout cable you can go up to 9, so loads of options there. We then have another 3-pin 5-volt addressable, so that's 3 on the board, or 4 if you use the adapter. And then finally on the bottom left hand side we have got our front panel audio. This board is using an ALC 4080 codec, but like I recommend to all people that are really into sound, get a sound card, you won't look back. So going up to the socket, we've got support for 7000, 8000 and 9000 series processors. And then to the right of that, we have our DIMM slots. This will support a maximum of 256 gigabytes of DDR5 up to 8400 mega transfers per second. You may see that push with the BIOS update, but that's what it can support at the time of filming. So going down to our expansion and memory slots, our first NVMe slot has a quick release on there, and then a big 110mm thermal pad on the back, so that can support up to a 110mm Gen 5 drive. Below that we have another heatsink, but this one needs a screwdriver. So turning that over, managed to take off the stand off with it as well, but we've got support for another 2 80mm drives. The top one will be Gen 5 and then the bottom one will be Gen 4 running at X2 linked to the chipset. We have another heatsink at the bottom. And then turning that one upside down, again we've taken the stand off with us, but that can support another 80mm drive at Gen 4 X4 speeds, again off the chipset. So you've got a total of 4 NVMe's on this board, 110 Gen 5, 180mm Gen 5 and 280mm Gen 4 from the chipset. For our PCIe expansion slots, we have our top Gen 5 armoured slot that also has a really nifty quick release. I really love that. It's also got a little lock that shows in there as well when it's locked, and then an unlock when you unlock it. We've also then got some additional slots down below. We've got a Gen 3 slot in the middle which supports X1 from the chipset, and then a Gen 4 slot at the bottom which supports X4. Not the fastest in the world, but perfectly good enough for like a sound card or maybe a capture card. I'd also recommend that you refer to the documentation if you're planning to use loads of NVMe's and expansion slots, as some expansion slots when in use can disable NVMe's. So going on to the rear of the board, we have a clear CMOS and a BIOS flash button, very handy to have. An HDMI that can be a good thing to have for some troubleshooting. Also have 2 red type A ports, these are going to be 10 gigabits per second, and the blue which is 5 gigabits per second. There's 4 USB 2 ports. We've got 3 type C 10 gigabit ports, very handy, and then a 5 gig LAN, our Wi-Fi 7 antenna points, a line out microphone in, and finally an SP diff. So that was a look at the B850 Tomahawk Max Wi-Fi from MSI. This is actually going to be £249, which I think is one of the best budget boards that I've looked at yet. The 2 type A headers is something a little bit different on the board as well. Obviously a bit of a personal preference if you'd rather have them internally or on the rear I/O, but if you have a higher end case that has 4 USB ports on the front, perfect for that. But I think this offers a lot for the money. We have got obviously a lot of NVMe slots, there's 4 on there, 2 of which are Gen 5, and then you have some different PCIe options as well, which for somebody like me that I do like to have those things on there, I would find that quite helpful. But yeah, $249 I think offers a lot for the money, and certainly the best price to performance board that we've seen from B850 as well. So this is going to be the last B850 board for a little while now. I'm hoping to get some of the Aorus boards in, hopefully maybe some ASRock as well, but those are the ones that I've got at the moment. So if there are any more specific ones you do want me to look at, then do let me know and I'll try and get them in. But hopefully you've enjoyed the B850 coverage. Let me know what kind of build you'd like to see these in as well. They are going to be a prominent thing once we get over the launches. Going to try and do a build a week for a number of months. So we've got lots of builds we can feature things in. Let me know what you'd like to see. Thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please get subscribed and ding the bell so you don't miss future content. I'll put the links for this in the description box as well. Thank you to MSI for sending it out for me to look at, and I'll see you all in the next one.